just a bit dramatic, that. Anyway, this film, there's one subscriber's asked, how do I wire up the bridges? Basically I don't, and I try to explain how I've done it, how I created the bridges and how they work, okay? And why they're in perspex and not wood, because if you remember in the past the wood was, forget it. The other part is the murder scene, attempted murder scene, whatever you want to call it, is come to a conclusion. I will show you that. And I've got a little incident going on down the docks, and I've got a little update going on in the engine's steam sheds area. Okay, so apart from that, we've been having a ball doing live streams. We just can't carry on doing this. I'm running out of laughs. So I think the big ones tonight, Sunday night, on Robert's train set. So if you want to play on catch up, well, fair enough. But if not, I'll see you there. But let's hope I hope it's a big ball. So I'm going to have fun. I know that. So thank you for everybody watching, and I hope you enjoy the film. There's a little bit of running in between, just a couple of trains running, nothing boring. So have fun, guys. Catch you later. Right, my thinking at the moment is having a cold compound here, and I've got these old fences I've put in here, and if I create a ramp along here, that'll go into that roadway there, like an exit out of there, in and out. But the other thing is, I can get a loco come in here and have a conveyor to load the tenders. And this is a coal truck, yeah, it's bringing the coal in, and this is a machine for pushing the coal up. Not so much for loading the tenders, but more of filling the hopper to fill the conveyor to load up the train. That's me thinking at the moment. So I need to create a small concrete base area there, and maybe tarmac along there. Now what I've done is put the 4mm foam board on there. As you can see, it just lifts it up a little bit, and there was this bit of spare fencing I had left out of a kit, but that's what I was thinking there. So we'll see how we get on. I'll come back to you later. The other little thing I was been toying with is this scene here, crane. New coach come back from refurbishment, and the crane's going to lift it off there back onto the track. With a 75-ton lift, they shouldn't have any issues with that. That could turn out a good little scene there. Right guys, I've been asked by one of my subscribers, can I show him how my lift up works. Now he says he's tried a few times and he's having electrical problems and how do you connect it and all that. I don't. But what I'll show you now is if I zoom in to there, I think it's there. Yeah, that's where the track is powered there. There is no bus wires whatsoever anywhere around the top layer. Okay, yes, I've got the odd ones because of points on the bottom layer, but as for the top layer, it goes from the back of that church there all the way around, across the bridges, across the points, and all the way to the outside here, and it's the same going that way. Okay, right, one of my subscribers asked me, how does my bridges work? How did I get around doing this and making it stable and reliable? Now, going back to the past, I didn't have this outside shelter built on. This used to be all open to the weather, and this section of the bridges was in ply, 18mm ply originally, and due to the weather it ended up sagging. It expands sideways as well as long ways, and then the damp gets into the ends and it just swells them up, so you end up with a very inefficient piece of track and very unstable. Even when you were doing a running session, depending on the weather, you ended up with derailments and all sorts, and it was unsightly. So my thinking was use perspex. Okay, now on the top it's 18mm thick, the top one. Okay, it's 18mm thick. That corresponds to the plyboard underneath all this. This bridge is 12mm thick, which corresponds to the ply on the base. How it's constructed is you've got your framework, and then it was covered in 12mm ply, the whole section all cut out to shape, and then the upper level was 2 strips of wood with 18mm ply on top of that, because that's all I had at the time. That's why this is 18mm. So when you come to construct it, you'll see a lot of people put the hinge right on the edge, and you'll have a block of wood here where your dowels will sit into. My thinking was, if you use perspex, there is no weather problems, and I created this way. Now it's 1 meter long, both of them, both are 1 meter long. They're both 9 inches wide, or around about the 23-24mm, something like that. I don't know what it is in millimeters. What you do is cut a section out of your baseboards. Okay, so you end up with a section missing, because you do it both ends, and you put the perspex in as one unit. Okay, you haven't cut anything at this point. That is one piece there, like that. Okay, and if I fetch you closer, I can show you. Right, when you fit this board, this is attached to that, so you've cut that amount of section out. So when you put the board down, yeah, this part is resting on the top of there, and it's the same that end. Okay, this front part, where are we now? Sun's come out. Rests on the frame. Okay, like that. then you fit it all into place so it's nice and square and level. Okay, that's all in one piece. Then it might be easier to use this end, the way the sun is. You cut it. There's various ways of cutting it. I use a small circular saw. I did do a movie at the time of making all this. Anyway, you cut that there, and then you drill 4 holes for your hinges. Okay, you want the hole just 1/1000 of an inch smaller than the screw. It's easily done. What you want to do, if you tried to screw screws into that, it will either shatter or crack or whatever. You've got to pre-drill your holes, but small enough, just enough for the thread on the screw to grip. You don't want to be screwing it into wood where the whole thing expands it and what have you. You just want enough for the screw thread to grip. Okay, now at this end, once you've done that and got that squared up, then you cut that end there, same method, circular saw across there, you've cut it. Okay, so then you've ended up with that. Now the secret is here, this hinge must be higher than the track. If you haven't got big enough hinges, just put a thin piece of ply like that, just enough to raise it. Obviously use a slightly longer screw, that's all. Just enough to lift the hinge above the track. And the proof of the conception is, as long as it's higher, the rails won't touch. Okay, that's how we work that part. So going back now, it's all in one piece. You've cut both ends. Okay, you've actually screwed it down, and you've got to pre-drill the screw holes as well. There's one there, one there, one there, and one there. That bit of white underneath there is actually plasticard, because, and that's how thin it is. Okay, it's just enough to make it level. It was that much out against the frame board. Okay, remember the timbers are swelling and contracting, this won't. So it acts like a spacer card. Yeah, it's that thin. That's all it was required in there, just enough to space it. So when you come to put the track on, at this point now you're putting the track on, which the joints are there, one's there and the other one's there. Okay, now all that down there is flexi track. All right, and the middle section is one piece flexi track. Okay, you can use what's the name, set track as well, because that keeps it straight. But what I did was join the track there, and you join the track down the other end. Okay, so it's all there in one piece. Then glue it. If you're using timbers indoors, obviously you won't get swelling and contraction, so it's just as easy. But that's the secret, making it overlap. And what I did was glue it down, so it's all, the tracks are all in one piece. Okay, so you can't lift it because it's all glued down and stuck. Once it's stuck, what you do is either Dremel it or use track cutters. I used track cutters, and you just cut the track, and it's the same that end. Okay, this was all one piece of track, and you just cut it with track cutters or a Dremel, and then you lift it and you can file it and make it shape or whatever. And if you get any track expansion, there's enough gap for it to go across. See, that one's different from that. But you can also tap that down, or you can take, what, 2-3 thousandths of an inch off, 1 millimetre say. And normally the track will slide on the sleepers. Okay, you can slide it and adjust it. But what you got to do is fix it into position all in one piece. Pin it down, glue it down, whatever your method is, and that way, once it's all fixed in one piece, once you cut it, it's going to stay aligned, isn't it? That's how you've set it up, and that's how you do it. Now at this end, the power comes in from this way, right up to the joint. There is no wire fixings here whatsoever. At this end, the power feed comes the other way, and you put a link wire in. Obviously you can't put a link wire underneath because it'd be on the board and it would upset the level. So the whole point of putting it there is you can keep an eye on it and there's no issues. Yeah. And if you're so desperate to hide your wires, you can always put ballast on it or whatever. I've left it open. These 4 screws, if you slacken them or tighten them, it will adjust that piece of board, which in turn adjusts that at the same time. So you've got some sort of flexibility in the system. Now the power is fed all the way around. I have no bus wires. There's no bus wires outside here. I rely on fish plates to get continuity of the electric coming round, and I use Hornby fish plates, which is far better than Pico fish plates, and I would say under trial and error and weather it works, because if I show you a piece of track here now, see how that's discoloured there? That's a drip. That's internal drips out from the condensation of the weather that comes off, and it discolours the edge of the track. And how do I clean the track? Track rubber. Normally about once a week on these tracks, and because this is open to the weather here, yes, it does rain on here. If it's got puddles on here, because remember I glued it so that the centre of the track can fill up like a puddle, you just do that and it pours off. Do not run your track, do not run trains on wet track. It sounds like they've all got flat tyres and you don't know what muck it's picking up, dirt's picking up and what have you. So I tend to clean these. Every time I do a running session, I'll clean this outdoor section, this part. As for the rest of it, as and when required really, or once a week, because I do a fair amount of running on it. So I hope that helps. I think it's Kevin. That's how they're done. But like I said, it's the secrets of it, of getting it level, is let it rest. Don't put the hinges on the end, because they will flex. When it's resting on there, it's got nowhere to go, has it? That's the main thing about it. And like I said, pin or glue your tracks down, whatever method you use. Make sure it's all straight, fixed, dried, solid, and then cut your track. Okay? And remember to have a bigger gap this end because of the hinge. Alright, because if I show you the close-up, you see there's quite a bit of gap there, and you can put cards in it, you can rattle it about. But the point is, when you lift it, it doesn't go onto the other track, so there's no issues. That's because the hinge is higher than the track, because it lifts above it, it lifts it away from it. Okay, that's the secret on that. I'm afraid I can't show you anymore. That's about it really. Without you actually doing it, that's how it's done with me anyway. But with perspex, you must pre-drill your holes. You must. Do not try to screw into it, you'll just shatter it. And it's 40 quid a piece, these two, when I bought these. 40 quid each. Yes, it's expensive, but boy is it paid for itself outside here, because it's weather resistant. Okay. Looks like we got a train spotter here. It's taking photos of the signal box there. And I do believe we're having a train coming along here. Must be a speed restriction on the bridge here today. Nice and quiet on the regulators there. Oh, there she is, look. Oh, that guy's in for a shock. I think she's enjoying herself. She seemed to have been smiling when she went past. Right, an update on the murder scene. What's his name? Austin Powers is left, and most of the police cars and all that, the ambulances have all left, and Detective Inspector Vera has left, but she arrested the vicar's wife. Apparently it was a fit of jealousy, and she took the guy out and clobbered the girlfriend, and the weapon was the grave digger's shovel. Now the funny looking weapon it was there was a separate incident apparently. It was on that piece of grass there. Well, them guys have gone, they've boxed it all up and gone in their little van, and the weapon is now on the way to Aldermaston for analysis. Meanwhile, back at the church, the vicar's not happy because his wife is being escorted away, and to help with their further inquiries, I would say. So that's the plot at the moment. It's virtually wrapped up, and the grave diggers are going back to work, doing what they do best, digging a few holes. So that's the story. It's come to a conclusion now on the church murder. Okay. Now there's something else going on down the docks here, where the nukes are taken apart. The guys from Aldermaston have got a funny looking thing on the floor there, and he's got his Geiger counter on it, checking it out. So they're not sure whether it's something that's fell off the wagon or what. Anyway, they're researching it. So that's a story in that area.